Am I disturbing you?
No, you're all right.
Obviously,
Don't let me bother y'all.
he was in a heavy discussion there.
Are we
wasn't
still filming?
We're currently filming, yes.
Okay.
Like you forgot where we were.
Cut.
Hey folks, I'm Stoney Stamper with Hart Trailers, and we're here to do a new video series today. We're going to be answering a few questions that we've been asked on social media and some of the videos that we've put out. Today we're going to be talking about the dual axle versus triple axle video that Randy put out a few months ago, and we'll be answering a few questions. So this video's had over 1 million views across our social media platforms. It's been a pretty big talking point for us, and it's something that people have had a lot of questions about, and something that we're pretty passionate about too. So one of the questions we were asked was about tongue weight. This particular question doesn't have a name with it, but how do we get by with a long, heavy trailer on 2 axles and not have it pull like a sled with a ton of tongue weight? That's a pretty fair question.
Yeah, it's really not that hard to explain. On those big trailers especially, we're dealing with tires, not a sled. So the bigger the tire, the easier it rolls. So typically, 2 tires, if you were just to take that trolley and roll it across the floor, you could push it easier on 2 tires than you could on 3. The friction creates a drag, so I think it actually rolls easier on 2 axles than on 3. Tongue weight, was that the question? Tongue
weight was how do we get by with the long, heavy trailer on 2 axles?
All that boils down to is axle placement, having them in the proper place. We've got a formula that we use. It's not there's no guesswork involved. If you put those axles where they need to be, you're going to have the same tongue weight whether you're on 2 axles or whether you're on 3. If you watch the entire video, you heard me talk about the pivot point. That was the center point between those axles. So that's consistent. Whether it's on 2 axles or 3 axles, that pivot point's going to be the same. So your percentage of weight on the tongue, regardless of the axle combination, is the same. There's no difference. You're not accomplishing anything on the tongue weight by going triple axles.
Yeah, I think placement is everything. I mean, we don't stray from that formula. We stick to it because I've been told 100 times about how well our trailers pull, how smooth they pull, and I think every bit of that has to do with where we place the axle. And
it's not an accident.
Yeah,
and we have a little room to move here or there depending upon
layout,
circumstances. You may have an escape door and you need to move it back 6 inches. 4 to 6 inches doesn't make a big difference, but we're going to stay pretty true to that formula, and we won't veer from it very far.
Yeah, when we get a drawing from the office, it gives us an axle placement. So when we build that floor, we know exactly where it's going. We won't move it an inch, a half inch. It has to be square. We put it in there. We square it all around. It's double checked. There's no way we can miss one. The trolleys are built. They're sitting there. The tires are there. We just put it together, square it. It's going to be exactly where that drawing tells us to be. The 12Ks were a little difficult because of the weight itself. It took more than one guy. One guy normally can do this, but we had to have 2 to do it on that just to make sure we can move them and get them exactly square. The smaller axles, that guy can set them in and shove them around a little bit and get them exactly where they're supposed to be. But the bigger the axles, it takes a little more help to get it done. And not only just squaring it in the trailer, but all through the system, just handling it. They had to put the tires on. Those big tires are harder to do, and you've got to have help to get them there, and torquing and all that. It's quite a bit different from the little axles. The bigger axles, we're pretty sure they're not going to move. They're going to hold the weight. I don't know that we've ever had a trailer that's had axle issues other than it's been hit, it's had curb damage, As far as going down the road, are our trailers heavier? They are. And I can tell you from being there for 32 years, aluminum's sold by the pound. And the weight of that trailer is 99% aluminum. It's going to be heavier if we put more aluminum in it, and we do. My father-in-law said we will shut down before we cheapen up, and we've lived with that ever since.
And that increased weight, that's not a significant increase either. I mean, in today's vehicles, if that trailer is 500 pounds heavier than the competition, that's not significant with these tow vehicles that we see today.
Right. And, with aluminum, it's important to give it the structure. We've for years have discussed the benefits of aluminum over steel. And, aluminum, one thing about it is if it flexes, it'll crack. And so our job is to make sure that the structure of the trailer is strong enough so that it doesn't flex. And to do that, you've got to put more weight in it. You've got to put more structure in it.
Yeah, there's hidden support that nobody sees structural-wise, and, standards are setting at a certain point. Everything's built exactly the same. The difference is we do custom build. You may get two trailers exactly like, and one tube may be different because somebody else framed it. But for the most part, the amount of tubes, everything, it's all pre-cut. It's all set in there. They know exactly what they need. It's just putting a puzzle together at that point.
We've got some extrusions that we'd like to show a little later on in this segment. We'll circle back, but you'll be amazed at the thickness of this aluminum and how we have it built for these specific components of the trailer. I'm anxious to show those to you. It'll kind of make sense to you when we circle back to that triple axle thing.
Going to the next question.
Can I just interject something? You asked a question about our confidence in those axles, and I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, I feel like we're 100% confident in what we do because we don't take any chances. We know the weights of these trailers. We have weighed hundreds of trailers.
Anytime we build a new model or a new size, we take it and weigh it so that we know exactly what it weighs.
We've weighed them empty, we've
game.
weighed them loaded. We know there is no guesswork. We know what the weight is. We know what we're dealing with in terms of cargo weights. When we build a trailer, knowing what's going in it, the weight of like in a living quarter. We're building the chassis, we're building the trailer, but we are building it for an interior to be placed inside of it. We have to take in consideration the weight that's added with the hardwood cabinets and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of calculation that goes into arriving at a completed, full, loaded weight. So when we do those calculations, we know that trailer needs 10,000-pound axles or 12,000-pound axles. There's no guesswork. We're absolutely confident in what we're doing. We've been doing it a long time, and I couldn't sit here and tell you otherwise. If I wasn't confident, I wouldn't be making this video.
All right, so the next question is, why are you not using disc brakes? This is from David on Facebook. That's, in my experience, in the past, I've seen some issues with disc brakes. We've seen some fires, I think, and
early on there was a lot of overheating.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the downsides of the disc brakes. They do have a tendency to overheat. Another one of the negatives to them. And I'm not saying that we can't do it. We have the options of doing several different types of brakes. Obviously, the most common in our industry is electric brakes. You have the electric over hydraulic. And disc brakes is probably the most recent addition to that. They're not quite as common. But there are people who want them. That is an option. But where our customers are going with these trailers, you pull into a rodeo grounds, the dirt, the mud, the water, some of the things that you encounter when you pull off the road, You know, that disc brake is exposed, and you get a lot of corrosion off of that water and mud and things that gets into that disc. So there are some complications. Some people just don't want it. But to answer your question, that is available. Roy, you have any experience with the disc? I mean,
We've done some disc brakes back in the day. One of the issues is nobody's ordering them. We're not getting any orders for them and not any questions. But back in the day when we first started doing disc brakes, Dexter had a disc brake that you had to buy Dexter wheels and Dexter hubs and Dexter tires, and dealers didn't like that either. They wanted their own wheels, their own tires, their brand they like, and it's just not a very popular option.
it may be for other manufacturers.
Right.
It
It's
has not
something
been
we've
for
been
us.
asked about a lot.
Right.
No, can't say that we have.
All right, here's another question from Sarah. She is a Hart customer from Facebook, and she says, I have one of your few tri-axle trailers and love the way it rides. A friend left an open beverage on a table in my living quarters, and we drove 45 minutes home without it spilling. It does absolutely eat my rear tires on turns, though. How does the dual axle compare ride-wise to the triple axle? You know, that's something that we have built some triple axles in the past. It's just something that we've decided as a manufacturer that just from a user standpoint, from a manufacturer standpoint of chewing up tires and having tire issues. But we did build some. And again, that formula is going to remain the same as to where we place the axles, right?
Yeah.
Triple axle versus dual wheel.
And I can tell you, I don't know where you're from, but if you're in Oklahoma, you're going to spill that water no matter what axle you have. These roads are horrible.
She wasn't on I-40, was she?
Yeah, no.
And
you have
I
to
mean,
pay
just
to drive it.
from my own experience pulling trailers, and I've pulled 1,000 of them, you know, a triple axle, in my experience, has jerked the truck a lot more. It's been a lot rougher ride. And, you know, if you are going down I-40, there are a lot of rough spots. And if it's a rough ride for you in the truck, imagine what it's like for the animals back in the trailer.
Right.
One thing I like to always bring out when the question arises about how they ride, that all boils down to having the proper size of axle. It doesn't matter whether it's 2 axles, 3 axles. For that trailer to ride, its very best potential is for it to be loaded. So if you've got, let's say, 2 7,000-pound axles, and you're only hauling 10,000 pounds, it's rated for 14,000. You know how your dually, when you're driving it down the highway empty, it's rough. It got, but now you put 2 ton of feet on it, a lot better ride.
Smooths out quite a bit.
So the closer you load that trailer to maximum, the better your ride's going to be, regardless of whether it's 2 axles or 3. 2 10,000-pound axles. You know, I'm not saying overload them. I'm not saying put 20,000 pounds on them, but you know, I don't believe in over-axling either.
No.
Too much axle is worse on your livestock than not enough.
Really stiff ride and
Yep.
just doesn't pull quite as smooth.
Yep. And we have built a lot of triple axles. I mean, how did she word that? One of the few?
One of the few tri-axle trailers.
We've actually built a lot of triple axles. It's been years ago. And our decision not to build triple axles today goes back to, our experience in the past. It's not something we just decided recently.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think we've been in business since 1968. There's not many things that we haven't
We've
produced
had
or
dual-wheeled axles. We've built triple axles. There's just not much we haven't built. But through those experiences and through the years, we determined some things that we felt like we could do better. And what we're doing today is definitely better than what we were doing at that point in time. And again, we're not saying that we have all the answers, but we have our own opinions of what's best for us and what we feel like is best for our customers.
we've arrived here through a lot of trial and error.
A lot of trial and error.
And experience, and that goes a long way. I think something too, you know, being everybody at the company or horse people or animal people, we know how to use a trailer. And I think maybe that's missed a lot of times from a manufacturing standpoint. When you actually know how to go out and use the trailer, and when you have used it and you think of things that...
Well, you experience the things that you're talking about every day to those customers. You're relatable.
Right.
You know, all I hear from people that come in for service work is they've never pulled one like it, that it pulls better than anything they've ever had. I suggest if you're concerned, pull one. You'll see the difference.
Absolutely.
You know, the 10-horse that we built not long ago with 12K axles, I pulled it to the fairgrounds to do a video with a 1-ton truck. I'm not saying you should do that when it's loaded, but we took it out there to take some videos and pictures of it. And on that 1-ton truck, it pulled great. It's just, again, that placement of the axles. You go too far forward with them, you got a lot of tail swing. It starts pulling a lot rougher, doesn't give you a good counterbalance. You go too far back, and then you've got too much tongue weight on the tow vehicle.
Right.
And so I kind of goes back to that placement is everything.
It's critical. I mentioned earlier that we brought some samples of our bottom rail, or I mentioned extrusions. We brought a couple of samples of our bottom rail. Stoney, I think they're laying over there beside you. When we're talking about big trailers, or we're talking about 12,000-pound axles, and people are asking the question, and I understand the question. And in the video that we did, maybe we covered the axle thing, but there's a lot more that goes into building a trailer than choosing an axle. What we want to show, and hold that other one up, Stone, Roy. Here are two different, they're the same extrusion, but I want you to see the difference, and I'm going to explain to you why we have both. Let's let them see it.
You'll hear us call it a few different things: the main rail, the T rail, the T beam,
frame, T beam, bottom rail.
And this is our traditional one right here, which is very heavy. It's a 9-inch.
Yeah, I would say 90% of what we build is on this frame. It's a heavy extrusion.
Quarter inch,
yeah. When we make that decision, and I'm going to use that 10-horse as an example. Oh, we didn't do the video on the 10-horse. We were doing video on triple axles. Yeah. I showed you the 12,000-pound trolley and the big 19 5 tires and wheels. And the question was, why not go, 888s versus 212s? Both would arrive at a 24,000 weight rating. Well, most people think that the reason you go to triple axles is to relieve tongue weight. You're taking weight off of the tongue of the tow vehicle. It's not. The purpose behind going triple axles is to spread the weight on the trailer, to take the bow out of that bottom rail. You've seen trailers that got sag, the big freight haulers, the flatbeds that you see going down the road. You see them empty, and they've got a big rise in the center. They're arched, and they're allowing for that to flex. Well, we can't do that building a horse trailer. We can't allow for flex. We have to maintain that rigid platform to build that trailer on. So in order to keep that straight, they're going to a triple axle to support and span that bottom rail. When we're doing that double axle, this is what that's going under. There is no need, nothing I can think of that would require any additional support, span, weight on that bottom rail. 2 axles in the correct position. We've compensated for it. We're not expecting this to do the same job on a 10-horse as we've been expecting it on a 4-horse. We've engineered that bottom rail to support and span whatever we build.
Not in just our engineer. We got an outside engineer to approve what we thought, to make sure it was right.
And I mean, no matter what you're talking about, whether it be aluminum horse trailers or homes no matter how well you build it, the foundation that you put it on is key.
Absolutely. It's only as good as the foundation.
Right. If that floor sags, if that main rail were to sag, that pulls your walls down. That starts creating stress cracks in the roof area.
And
start getting leaks and structural problems.
That is not going to sag.
That's 14 inches, half-inch thick. You're not going to get any sag in that.
Well, on that side of our business, the problem we have is just, here again, the weight of it, where one man could do it, it's taken 3 to put this rail up. And because we build that floor upside down, so this has to be put on upside down, so we have to manhandle it over and set it up. It's took some different clamping options. It's just, the weight alone was something that we weren't used to. When we built the bigger trailers, it kind of slowed us down because there were so many unknowns in the production side of it. They can draw it. It looks really good on paper. But if you move something up, it affects everything above it. The doors, the windows, everything has to change to affect what we moved on the floor. It's a lot of shop engineering we have to do after they do their part. I mean, theirs is all perfect, drawn. It can't change. Ours we have to be able to deviate a little bit to make what they've got in that square fit in that square. The second one we built, it just run through production like normal. But the first one definitely stalled us a little bit because there was just a lot of unknowns. Now we're building one today. It's flying right through like the rest of them. But that goes with anything we do different.
Learning curve in every single change.
And how often do you and I do something on paper or have a customer request and we formulate a plan or draw it out on AutoCAD, but we have to rely on Roy a lot for telling us, hey, that won't work and here's why. Having 32 years experience there in the shop.
I mean,
valuable.
The first Smart Tech we built, Randy drew that up for his grandkids and showed it to my wife, who's the owner, and she said, build one. Man, on paper, it looked so good. But when we got out there and started building it, the first trailer took us 6 months to finally build after they designed it because there was so much changing and rechanging. Well, that doesn't work. Well, okay, what if we do this? Because it's like doing the puzzle, If you start in the center, it's harder to build than if you do the outside edge. And so when they give us the outside edge and we have to fill it, it changes it slows everything down for us. But once we did finally figure out, hey, this is where everything fits, like I say here again, those just fly through like they're nothing. But that first one was a total nightmare. It took some time.
How many Smart Techs do you think we have in the shop right now?
Yeah.
Probably 70% of what's in the building's Smart Techs.
That went from being
It was 6 months that was well spent designing and re-engineering and building and tearing out and redoing, but it was fun. I mean, it was.
Yeah, and there's still questions. Why don't you do something else? And that goes back to saying if you move something a foot, you affect something else down the road. So you have to change everything. And for them, it's just drawing straight lines and it looks good. When you walk out to the real world, which is what I say I'm in, not y'all's world, it's a little different. And there is a lot of questions about will this fit, and we have to go out. We built, models of something to see if it would work and then go here's why it won't. We have a lot of bit of discussions in the front office about drawings, and, customers will have an ideal, and it's a good ideal, but in reality, it doesn't all form in that puzzle that they have.
I think what he's trying to say is our work is perfect, and his is just about a half bubble out of plum.
No, what I'm saying is I wish you guys would have to come out and work in the real world where we don't get coffee and it's cold, and understand that sometimes that perfect line.
I will come out and we will spend some time reading tape measure. I'll help you.
What, in June?
When it warms up. Not today.
Even just yesterday,
Right,
we made a change in the height of a gate
right.
and thought, in theory, that changing the height of that gate would have no issue other than just the gate being taller. But, just
Changed everything.
It
Yeah.
affects things above it. It affected, in this case, it affected window bars. And,
So we shut the door, it don't shut, so we've got to cut another one off and make it shorter, and then it's just,
and those aren't things that you think about or that come to mind until you see it in person.
And we
we should have thought
give
of that.
them guys out in the shop a hard time, and I make fun of Roy every single day.
But it's easy to do when you're behind a glass window in a heated
I
room
understand,
drinking coffee.
but I'm trying to compliment you now.
Oh,
You-
okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'll take it back.
There's nothing he can't figure out. When we run into that yesterday on that gate, how long did it take him? He had it solved within a matter of minutes, and it was brilliant. So that's your compliment for the day.
It's a big compliment.
Yeah, but when I started building trailers,
They were wooden wheels, I know.
they literally drew it on the floor with a soapstone and said, build this. So having a drawing is a whole lot better than where we started.
Yeah.
But
Remember them first drawings, too?
there's
They were-
not many things in that building that we haven't tackled. There's some weird things that's come through that I thought y'all lost your mind that we did figure out. But, there's guys in the shop like Malcolm, my son Josh, that we can bounce things off. We don't just go build it. We discuss it and cuss it and twist it and throw it
that's-
away and start over.
That's what I've always told Stoney. I said, feed it to him. Tell him what you're looking for. And then walk away.
There's a
let
certain
him-
way to approach Roy with
Let him
new
think
things.
about it on his own. Don't stand over him.
I will shut down if I have eyes on me. I don't like people telling me until I build it. Let me build it and then tear it apart. But don't tear it apart while I'm building it. But Mr. Hart told me when I first started working for him, because I'm not going to lie, I can't weld a lick. I can't do much out there. But he told me one time, he said, you don't have to weld, but you sure better know a good welder. And that's kind of what we do now. We've got guys that can build, but they need somebody to draw that line for them to follow it, and then somebody to tell them that they got off the line. And that's what I do.
I think something that we have that's so valuable is the amount of experience, with guys like Roy. But there are so many guys that have worked in that shop for 15, 20 plus 30 years.
Yeah, Malcolm's 30-something
36,
years.
37.
There's many guys out there 20 plus.
And that's not something you can learn in a book.
And trying to teach the younger kids. And, I tell them when I'm training somebody, you build it my way. When you learn my way, if you can find a quicker way, then teach me that quicker way. But build it this way first. And that's kind of how we keep everything pretty similar when they leave. We have the experience to do that. We're only as good as the men in the shop. If they're not out there building trailers, Randy, Stoney, myself, this video wouldn't be made. Our guys, they enjoy their job. They like seeing that Hart logo go down the road. They know they had their hands building that. From my trim shop to my guys that build axles to the guy that does shipping and receiving, parts, welders, all of them really enjoy what they're doing. I mean, nobody really likes working, but they enjoy building something that they can see,
Something
like I
they're proud
say.
of.
Malcolm's been there 30 plus years. His son's coming behind him. We're training him to do Malcolm's job someday. And, You know, Mike Young's been running a weld shop for 20 plus years. My son is now going over and helping Mike. We're actually teaching my son to kind of take over some of my work because Lord knows I'm getting old. You know, in trim shop, we have Zeke that's been there 20 plus years, that's run trim, knows everything about it from front to back, to mat, to cut, to wash. You know, James is a young guy. He does our trolleys. He does really well. He's very dedicated. He knows exactly where he's got to be, and he double checks and triple checks. You know, we just have some really good, solid hands that are there every day. You know, the benefit we have, we work 4 days a week, get a 3-day weekend. I think that's why we've kept hands. I've never asked them, but I know on occasion when we have to work Monday and work 5 days, you would think we've just killed them. You know, my gosh, I can't work 5 days. I'm so tired. I am one of them. I don't like working 5 days. But I just think that, you know, sometimes we forget what we have outside. And Tracy's really good about taking care of them and understanding without them, we're nothing.
I think you've done a good job. I'm not in the habit of complimenting you twice.
Write this
And
down.
this
One
is
day.
going to be, this is
But,
going
Glad
to,
this is being recorded.
my hat might not sit right.
But you show them, every one of them, from the guy matting to the welders, the framers, you show each one of them their importance to the company.
Well,
You know, there's no differentiation between, you know, the old guys and the new guys. You treat them all good. You meet them every evening going out the door. You treat them like somebody, and I think that builds a relationship that's more than just a job. They're appreciated, and they feel it.
Tracy's told me I'm kind of like the dear Abby in the shop. I hear a lot of family issues, a lot of problems. I try to work with them. We want to know their families. We want to know their kids. We want to know everything about them. You know, like I say, I do tell them goodbye every night. I tell them good morning every morning. I hated working somewhere when the boss walked by and never even knew my name, acknowledged me. I know them all. I know everywhere they work. I know where they're supposed to be. I do listen to their sad stories and their good stories and their happy stories, you know.
It's a gift.
It is.
able
Well,
to
yeah,
work
I
men.
mean, I do have a gift.
You're gifted.
I'm glad that's been acknowledged because, you know, and when customers come in, we take customers through our building like it's nothing. We've got nothing to hide. They want a tour. I had a guy come in last Friday. It was at 4 o'clock. He said, "Hey, you got time?" Sure. Took him through the plant, let him ask questions, take pictures, whatever. We don't hide anything. We're open to anybody. Anybody wants to stop by our plant, take a tour, come on in. You don't even have to get an appointment. As long as it's not on a Monday. If it is, you got to go with Stoney, and boy, he talks a lot. I gave you a compliment right there.
May stretch out
Yeah.
to her a little bit, but no, I mean, you hit on it. Being the first one there and the one to lock the gate at night, guys notice that, and
Yeah.
that's being a good leader, not just a boss, but
I don't miss work. I never have. I just believe in being there. I want them to see me there. I can't tell them why you're not here if I'm not there. I'm going to be at the age that I'm going to take some time off, but it's not going to be in the morning, guys. If you're listening, I will be there every morning on time. I want them to know that, we care. Tracy wants them to know they care. We have an open door office. Any of them have problems, even with me, which they never do because I'm so nice. But they can go talk to Tracy. She's not a standoff boss. They all know I have a boss. Lord knows they know that. But, we're just one of those companies that, we have a Christmas meal every year. The company used to furnish the food and we all went in and had barbecue. But now we've changed ours. It's a potluck. Everybody gets to bring something. We get everybody else's food and we all sit around and pitch quarters and laugh and giggle. The men really look forward to it. I do. It's one of the few times we can all just be ourselves. And, we got every kind of employee out there, and they're all valuable to us.
Can we go back to the extrusions here and talk about weight, we referenced weight earlier, and I think maybe we weren't very clear on our position on weight. You talked about the trailer being heavier, has more aluminum in it, and it does. You can look at those two pieces of extrusion, and obviously this is going to be heavier. But throughout the trailer, we use, beefier extrusions, thicker floors, we use the 1/4-inch plate in the nose. So yes, we've added weight. And if you ever hear a complaint about a Hart trailer, it's that they're heavier. The only way you're going to know that trailer's heavier is put it on the scale. You will never know it's heavier to pull.
Right.
If that trailer doesn't pull better than anything you ever pulled, then I owe you an apology. Everything I've ever pulled, and I think I've probably pulled every brand at some point in time, there is a difference in the way that trailer tows.
Yeah.
It just tows different. It pulls easy. It rolls easy. I think it just goes back to all those formulas and the trial and errors that we've suffered through in the past.
And having a little extra weight is not a bad thing. It gives us the structure. And, we talk to people every day that have 93, 95, 97 model trailers that are, at this point 30-plus years old. And all they may need is to replace a sticker or some lights. But the structure,
it sustains. It lasts.
The trailer itself, and we've said this in some of our advertising, it's a trailer for life. And truly, if your needs don't change, unless you need to haul more horses or you need bigger or smaller,
I guess
the trailer
if
will
I had
last.
to ask a question to someone that really was critical of the weight of the trailer, where would you like for us to take the weight out? Would you like us to use a smaller bottom rail? Would you like us to use a 3-sided post instead of a solid 4-sided tube? Where would you like for us to cut the weight? Most people are not going to be willing to sacrifice what it would require to make that trailer lighter. That's just not our buyer. They're not looking for compromise. They're looking for the best trailer they can buy, and I think we've consistently supplied that. And I hope that clarifies some of that weight issue, because it always kind of bothers me to hear people say your trailer's heavier. Well, that's not a negative in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. We don't cut corners.
We do not.
We're a lot of times maybe more conservative in a lot of things we do, but that's because we take safety of people that are using the trailers, safety of the animals. That's of utmost importance to us. And we're not going to build something, cut corners to save cost or to try to save a little money. We're not the cheapest. We're not the lightest. And we don't want to be. We never have. We want to build something that we know that you're going to be safe pulling, that your animals are safe. So I agree. I don't see that as a bad thing in any way. If we were built lighter, then, we wouldn't see these 92s and 95s still pulling down the road. They'd be in a scrapyard by now.
Yep.
I've been in the horse trailer business since he started. I was still in high school, and we've seen the industry evolve. And there was a time when a 18, 19 foot on the floor 3-horse gooseneck was the most popular thing that we built. And we've seen the industry grow. We've seen the horse industry as a whole grow and
just evolved.
So the needs have changed. The trainers that pull sometimes 20-plus head, 30 head to a big show, like the NRHA Futurity or the Cutting Futurities, they have needed bigger trailers. And so to do that, the response to it has been great. But we don't do anything halfway. I know that we've kind of covered that a few times, but to be able to do that, to be able to go to the bigger trailers, we had to have this new extrusion designed. Did we have to? No, not necessarily. No, I don't think that every manufacturer would, but we go back to that. We want it to be safe going down the road and have all the confidence in the world in that T-beam. Feedback on the trailer has been great. Just recently, just this last week, delivered a 10-horse for a customer that ordered a trailer from H&H Trailers in Lubbock, and they picked it up and couldn't believe how we heard back from the customer how well the trailer pulls, and it's a long trailer, and they were pulling it with a F450, but they just talked about how great it pulled behind their truck. He didn't act like the weight was an issue for the tow vehicle at all. Should we touch on the tires? We've talked about weight ratings and am I disturbing you?
No, you're all right.
Obviously,
Don't let me bother y'all.
he was in a heavy discussion there.
Are we
wasn't
still filming?
We're currently filming, yeah.
Okay.
Like you forgot where we were.
Cut.
So we talked about putting a 10K axle or a 12K axle on something. You've got a lot of things to take into account, though. You've got your hitch, what it's rated for. You've got your axles, what they're rated for. Your tires are something that, I don't think we've touched on yet, but is of equal importance, because whatever the weakest link is what you have to base all your decisions off of. On these, say on a 10K with 17.5s, each one of those Continental tires is rated for 6,400 pounds, I believe. Is that correct? A little over 6,000 pounds per tire.
It's something wrong with it.
So,
over 6,000.
If you've got 4 tires, you're looking at 24,000. You got 2 10Ks. You've got a 20,000 pound capacity on them. On the 19.5 tires, I believe they're rated for 6,700 pounds.
There was a question in there. I was actually kind of looking forward to discussing that. Someone asking about he'd never seen a wheel that was rated for more than 3,000 pounds. So yeah, those numbers just, you see that question on there?
Yeah. Steve, he says, what is load rating in pounds per tire on the 12K axle to get a single tire to carry roughly 32 pounds apiece? Never seen a small single tire with a 6,000 plus load rating, but
That Forge Max is rated for 67.
right. And how many ply are those? Are they 18?
18 ply.
I mean, that's a heavy tire.
It is heavy.
Go back and watch that video again.
And I think
I'm a visual guy.
that's exactly what I was getting ready to say is
It's
seeing is believing.
Yep.
You can talk about weight ratings all you want, but when you see a 7,000 pound axle beside a 12,000 pound axle, you get the magnitude of how much more capacity is there.
If your questions haven't been answered, go back and watch the video again. It'll be linked below.
So this has been pretty enjoyable to just really sit around. We do this every morning before work, but
This is the way we start our days.
yeah. This is the first video in this series, and I think we're going to be doing quite a few more of them. And so if you have any questions that we haven't answered or that we haven't approached, which I'm sure you do, be sure and reach out to us, give us a call, reach out to us on social media sites, and we'd be glad to answer any more questions that you may have. But we'll see you next time.
That's cut.